Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Allison, and I'm so glad you're here to discover what brings out the best of you. This podcast is all about breaking free from painful patterns, mending the past, and discovering our true selves in God. I can't wait to get started as we learn together how to become the best version of who we are with God's help. Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Best of You podcast. Today, we're talking about boundaries, a topic that can stir up a lot of mixed feelings for many of us. On one hand, boundaries can feel empowering, like a reclaiming of your voice, your time, your well-being. On the other hand, if you're on the receiving end of someone else's boundaries, it can feel confusing or even like rejection. And for some of us, boundaries can feel at odds with being a loving, kind, or generous person. I've struggled with boundaries most of my adult life. I've struggled with being too rigid, using boundaries like a fortress to keep people out. For me, sometimes that has looked like ending a relationship too quickly instead of having an honest conversation and telling myself I'm being clear when I was actually just afraid of the emotional discomfort or even feeling awkward. It's looked like saying no across the board as a default, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't trust myself to give without losing myself. It's looked like overscheduling or overstructuring my life to the point that there was no room left for spontaneity, presence, or unexpected moments of connection. I've also struggled with being far too permeable, rationalizing overgiving out of guilt or a sense of over-responsibility. For me, again, that's looked like attuning so much to someone else's perceived needs that I ended up over-enabling the other person and jeopardizing other healthier relationships. It's looked like feeling so desperate not to hurt someone else that I avoid the hard, necessary conversations. Conversations that if I'd been brave enough to have them earlier, might have actually saved certain relationships. It's looked like taking on more than I can handle at work, convincing myself it's being servant-hearted when in reality I'm neglecting my own health and priorities. It's taken me a long time to figure out a healthier rhythm when it comes to boundaries, a way to enter into the beautiful mess that is all of our relationships with wisdom, discernment, and healthy boundaries. As we discussed in last week's episode on codependency, healthier boundaries have come as I've learned to trust my own inner voice, to honor my own needs, my own intuitive instincts, my own desires, even as I've learned to stay present to the inherent complexities of relating with other complicated humans. What I've learned is this: tending to our boundary lines is an ongoing practice. It's not a one-time decision. It's not a hard and fast set of rules. It's a rhythm of staying attuned to yourself, to your circumstances, and to the gentle leading of God's Spirit. I'm guessing that most of you also feel this tension of vacillating between wanting to just flee hard, complicated conversations or situations in your relationships and being too porous, too available, too bending, too yielding to the needs of other people. And that's exactly why I want to have this conversation with you today. Here's the thing: boundaries are one of the most misunderstood tools of emotional and spiritual health. They're not about building walls to keep people out. They're not weapons to get other people to change, and they're not excuses to avoid conflict, hard conversations, or the beautiful mess of real relationships. Here's a metaphor that I have found to be really helpful in my own life. Recently, I spent the morning at a local nursery walking through greenhouses and rows of plants and flowers, each one different, each one needing something unique from the gardener. Some flowers, like sunflowers, turn their faces toward you and grow tall with the light you give them. Some, like roses, are beautiful but come with thorns. You learn to enjoy them gently, maybe even from a distance. Some, like yellow daisies, bloom brightly for a season and then they fade. Others, like lavender or sage, are grounding and enduring, showing up year after year, steady and healing. And some, like morning glories, open briefly and unexpectedly, offering surprise beauty that you hold lightly for a season. And then there are the ones that grow wild, wisteria climbing into spaces it doesn't really belong, or ivy that spreads so fast it begins to choke out other plants. These require pruning, care, or a strong trellis to guide them. Our relationships are like a garden, beautiful, messy, each one needing different things from us. And boundaries are the tools, the gardener's glove, the pruning shears, the watering can, even the protective fence. Boundaries are essential tools for tending to the garden of your relationships. They're nuanced and nimble, not hard and fast. And they're never there to punish the plant or the relationship, but to help each one thrive in the right place, in the right season, with the right care. Boundaries aren't about control. They're about cultivating what's good, letting go of what no longer blooms, and protecting the beauty of what's growing. Your job isn't to control every plant or every person in your garden of relationships. It's to tend your garden with wisdom, discernment, and a gentle touch, having confidence that you have what it takes to nurture a garden that is alive, vital, healthy, and growing. Here's the thing. Back in the day when my boundaries were too rigid, I had a beautiful plot of soil with no weeds and no flowers. And that's not exactly the kind of vibrant garden I wish to cultivate in my life, nor is it the kind of garden I think God means for us to have. Having healthy boundaries does mean wading into the messiness of relationships. If we left every relationship when things got messy, we wouldn't have any relationships left. On the other hand, if we don't have the tools to tend to our relationships with confidence and with strength, we'll let that garden be completely overgrown and chaotic, and we'll feel overwhelmed by what's in front of us. Boundaries aren't about perfection. They're about cultivating a healthy sense of order. Your garden will look different from mine, and that's okay. But what matters is that we find a life-giving sense of order that honors our need for human relationships and our own personal capacities. So today, I want to take you on a journey. First, I'll give you a high-level view of what I think is the original design behind boundaries all the way back at the beginning, what we see in the creation story. Then we're going to end with some practical stories from real-life situations, as well as scripts and tips that you can start using as you cultivate your own garden of relationships. Are you tired of searching for a skincare product that actually delivers on its promises? I've been there, trying product after product labeled as clean or non-toxic, only to find hidden ingredients or zero results. That's why I'm thrilled to share Purity Woods with you. Their mission is simple: to provide the cleanest and most effective healthy aging products on the market. Their products are USDA certified organic, non-GMO, free of artificial additives, parabens, and toxic preservatives, and they're completely cruelty-free. Their age-defying Dream Cream is a game changer. With revolutionary maple leaf extract and over 25 potent ingredients, it helps reduce fine lines, wrinkles, and age spots while supporting collagen and elastin production, all without irritation or drying. Turn back time on the appearance of your skin with Purity Woods Age-Defying Dream Cream. Right now, Purity Woods is offering 17% off site-wide, and we have an exclusive additional 10% discount for our listeners. That's a total savings of 27%. Go to puritywoods.com/bestofyou or enter code bestofyou at checkout for an additional 10% off your first order. That's puritywoods.com and enter code bestofyou for a total of 27% off your first order. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Just like we invest in our physical health, our mental well-being deserves that same commitment. And many people shy away from therapy just due to the cost alone. Traditional sessions can range from $100 to well over $200 each session. And that's where BetterHelp can be a great option, offering a much more affordable solution by cutting those costs up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you're not just saving money, you're investing in a flexible, flat-fee service that allows you weekly sessions, making quality mental health care both accessible and convenient. And the thing about therapy is that it's not just for those dealing with significant trauma. It's also about guiding you in day-to-day decision-making, setting healthy boundaries, developing positive coping skills, and empowering you to be the best version of yourself. BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy provider with over 30,000 therapists helping more than 5 million people worldwide. The convenience is unparalleled. You can start a session with just one click, easily fitting it into your busy schedule. And if you feel the need, you can switch therapists at any time. Here's your chance to make a substantial change in your life. Your well-being is truly worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/bestofyou today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/bestofyou. Taking care of my health used to feel overwhelming, but Giulia has changed that. With Giulia, you skip the typical doctor's office visits. Their mobile phlebotomist comes to your home twice a year to perform a simple blood test that measures over 100 biomarkers, providing up to 5 times the insights of a standard panel. Then you'll talk with their experts to create a truly personalized plan, whether you're looking for more energy, better nutrition, or to tackle stress head on. Everything from your daily supplement packs to any advanced therapies gets delivered right to your door so that you never have to leave the comfort of your home for any part of the process. And here's the best part. The membership starts at just $129 a month, covering those detailed blood tests, 40% off your personalized supplements, plus unlimited access to their care team. If you've ever prayed for an easier way to stay on top of your well-being, this just might be it. Head to GoJavidi.com to learn how you can take charge of your health story and live life feeling your best inside and out. Use code BESTOFYOU for 20% off your first 3 months of membership. Just visit GoJavidi.com, that's GOGEVITI, to learn more about how you can start optimizing your health without leaving home today. Location-based restrictions apply. So let's start at the beginning with a high-level view. In the creation story, God brings beauty out of chaos, not through domination, but through separation, through healthy differentiation. Light from darkness, land from sea, day from night. Each act of separation wasn't about exclusion. It wasn't about hierarchy. It wasn't about division in the way we often think of it today. It was about making room. In the beginning, God didn't build walls. God created spaciousness. These early distinctions between day and night, land and water, work and rest, weren't punishments. They were gifts. They were the foundational rhythms of our lives. They gave shape to time, meaning to movement, and form to relationship. They made life possible. We work, we rest. We commune with each other. We commune with God. We're together. We're separate, sometimes with ourselves. All of this existed in perfect harmony before the fall. This is the essence of boundaries, creating form so that flourishing can happen. And this is what theologians call original goodness. I touched on this back in episode 153 with Dr. Hilary McBride. Before there was sin, shame, and divisiveness, there was goodness, honor, and harmony, not only in our relationships with other people, but in our relationship with God and with the land that we inhabit. That's our original inheritance. Boundaries were part of that original harmony. They were there before sin and shame and brokenness entered in. They were never walls to keep people out, but rhythms that made life sustainable. The problem is, somewhere along the way, we've started to see boundaries primarily as defensive tools, as ways to protect ourselves from the harm and chaos of the world around us. And yes, boundaries can be protective. They do help us navigate the pain and confusion of broken relationships. But that's not where they begin. Boundaries begin in goodness, not as a reaction to what's wrong, but as a structure that protects what's right. And for those of you who have read my book, The Best of You, I redefined the primary question to ask yourself when it comes to establishing healthy boundaries, not as what you need to say no to, but what you need to say yes to in your life proactively. What is the goodness, the beauty, the health that you're trying to protect? So right here at the front end of this episode, if you're struggling to set boundaries in your life, think about it for a minute. Are you trying to figure out what you're saying no to, and that seems impossible or hard or cruel or inherently rejecting? If that feels like your situation, I can't say no to this person because I don't want to hurt them. I can't say no to this commitment because I don't want to be ungenerous or unkind, or I can't say no even to this toxic situation because I also care about this person, right? Even though I can't stand some of the ways that they're treating me, flip that question on its head and ask yourself, what do I need to say yes to instead? I need more healthy relationships in my life. I need more spaciousness for myself, which means I have less tolerance for some of these other harder, more complicated relationships. Remember, again, boundaries aren't primarily about saying no to bad things. They're about saying yes to the things that matter most. Start there if you're struggling with your boundaries. Sometimes I call this creating a yes list. And again, if you think back to that garden metaphor, think about the flowers that draw you in and help you come alive and help bring joy into your life and a sense of goodness, a sense of peace, a sense of rest. And start there by prioritizing those relationships in your schedule, in your calendar, in your day-to-day life. The rest will begin to take care of itself. There are two specific kinds of ordering that come with boundary setting that I want to touch on in this episode today. The first is just ordering your life and picking between good things, just the everyday reality that we have to say yes to a certain number of things. We're finite, we're limited, we can't say yes to everything, which means at times we will be saying no or reducing our capacity in things that we really love within relationships that actually we really value or we really respect or we really care about, but we don't have the capacity for in the same way. Let me give you an example from my own life. In the last 15 years, I've undergone so many changes. I went from being single to being married. I went from not having children to stepping into really significant co-parenting duties as a step parent. In the meantime, my work life has grown. My own vocation as a therapist, as an author, and even as hosting this podcast grew really quickly. I shifted into 3 new roles that significantly altered my time and energy and capacity very quickly. And that forced me to make some changes in my life just out of sheer need. This was hard. I've also moved. I've taken up roots in a new geographic location. And so these were significant changes that impacted my capacity to invest in long distance relationships that are really meaningful to me. I've had to figure out different rhythms to honor those relationships, but in new ways. I've had to say no to some work opportunities, including those that require a lot of travel. These are constant negotiations in our global world that many of us are having to make about our work, about our relationships. And all of these decisions require communication. It's communicating to those people, you matter to me, and my capacity to show up in this relationship has to change. Or it means communicating to a boss, I can't travel to that event because I have these other commitments that are important to me. Are there other ways that I can show up digitally to make my presence known in these spaces? This kind of boundary setting isn't about choosing between good and bad. It's about knowing my own values and prioritizing accordingly. Boundaries help us survive and flourish, and it takes some work on the front end. And if you're someone who's struggling in this category of boundary setting, the most important thing you can do is make that priority list. It's not just a yes list. Of all those things you want to say yes to, it's prioritizing what are the ones that matter most. They all matter to me, but what matters most? And then the other thing I found really helpful when it comes to prioritizing in very full seasons is to think seasonally. What needs to be in my daily rhythms? What can be in my weekly rhythms? What can be in my monthly rhythms? And what is in my quarterly or annual rhythms? And don't underestimate the value of an annual rhythm or a quarterly rhythm. These are really valid and valuable ways of honoring different relationships, different work commitments. For example, if you have a friend or a group of friends that don't live near you, prioritizing an annual or even an every other year get together to see each other is placing significant value on those relationships. And it's far better than just letting them go by the wayside. Same with quarterly rhythms. Quarterly check-ins via phone are really valuable. That's a significant investment in a relationship that you can no longer figure out how to work in to your day-to-day or your weekly rhythms. So expanding your understanding of rhythms to thinking seasonally can be a really helpful way to adjust some of your boundary lines. Another example for me when it comes to traveling for speaking is instead of feeling like I'm always saying no, I say yes to 1 or 2 speaking events a year. That's what I have capacity for. And by naming that clearly, I'm able to choose events and opportunities that have the most value for me personally. I know what I'm saying yes to, which can help relieve the stress of having to say no to otherwise really good things. Secondly, I want to talk about boundaries in the context of relational struggles or even relational toxicity. And again, I want to say this, I always say this, but it bears repeating. I don't believe in toxic people. I believe in the image of God in all people, but I do believe in toxic patterns of behavior. When I'm talking about boundaries, I'm not labeling other people as good or bad or toxic or not toxic. I'm looking at patterns of behaviors. And I'm asking myself this key question. What needs to shift in this relationship in order for me to live honestly, with integrity, and with respect for the image of God in this other person? That's a loaded question, so I'm going to unpack it for a second. What needs to shift in order for me to live honestly, so that I'm not lying to myself or to someone else, with integrity, so that I'm staying true to myself, to my own values, and simultaneously with respect for the image of God in this other person? So notice I didn't say with respect for how this other person is behaving, but I'm respecting their inherent humanity while also staying true to my own convictions, my own integrity, my own values. So if someone is demonstrating extremely toxic behaviors where it's hard to see the image of God in them, and this happens, and I know many of you have people like this in your life, what needs to shift? What might need to shift is I cannot be in communication with this person anymore because their behaviors and their strategies and their way of showing up in the world has gotten so toxic that I cannot put myself in their presence. And that is the best thing I can do to honor myself and honor the image of God in them, because I am not going to honor the way they're showing up in the world. I'm not. There's no way that I can be in relationship with them and still honor myself and the image of God in them, because there's no access to that image of God. Now, these are extreme cases, but it does happen. Prioritize sleep, prioritize you, because great days start with better nights. If you're ready to upgrade your sleep, look no further than Cozy Earth. Their bamboo sheet set is the softest, coolest, most luxurious bedding you'll ever own. It's crafted to restore, refresh, and revitalize you night after night. And I absolutely love Cozy Earth's bamboo pajamas. They're lightweight, breathable, and they are so buttery soft. They are one of the most comfortable pajama sets I've ever owned. Honestly, I wish I could just wear them all day long. Cozy Earth products are not only designed with luxury in mind, but they're built to last. Cozy Earth offers a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty on every bedding product. Their commitment to quality and responsible production means you can enjoy unparalleled comfort for years to come. Prioritize sleep, prioritize you. Visit CozyEarth.com and use my exclusive code BESTOFYOU for 40% off best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. And if you get a post-purchase survey, let them know you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Sleep better with Cozy Earth. In my years of being a therapist, one of the lessons I've learned is that not everybody benefits from a traditional 50-minute hour or even from typical weekly counseling sessions. This is why some people can go to couples counseling for months or even years and never really get anywhere or make any progress. This is why I'm such a believer in the intensive counseling process at Restoring the Soul in Colorado. Restoring the Soul was created by Michael Cusick to help couples or individuals experience deep change in half-day blocks over 1 or 2 weeks. Michael and his extraordinary team of therapists know that sometimes you just can't wait months or years to get to the bottom of an issue or to experience a needed breakthrough. For over 20 years, Restoring the Soul has helped couples and individuals transform their relationships and their lives. So if you're looking to get out of the rut you're in but can't wait months or years, contact Restoring the Soul today at www.restoringthesoul.com and learn how their intensive counseling process can jumpstart your journey or launch you to the place you want to be. And as a special gift just for the Best of You podcast listeners, make sure to visit www.restoringthesoul.com/bestofyou to download their PDF called 5 Ways Unresolved Trauma May Be Derailing Your Relationship. That's www.restoringthesoul.com/bestofyou. In most other relationships that get complicated, boundaries often come into focus when something doesn't feel quite right. And I want to talk through 3 common situations where this happens. The first is enmeshment, when our own identity is too tied up in someone else's needs or opinions. This gets back to codependency, which we talked about in last week's episode. Number 2 are toxic patterns, when the relationship involves manipulation, control, or guilt tripping, or repeated harm. And again, in this case, I'm not talking about those people that you have to remove yourself from entirely. I'm talking about people that have some good qualities, but also demonstrate some of these other qualities that are harmful. Number 3, a chronic imbalance, when we're always the one giving, always the one fixing, or always the one carrying the emotional load. Let's talk about enmeshment. When you've lost your voice in a relationship, boundaries can help you reclaim it, not to control the other person, but to become more honest with yourself. Let's say at work, you've been overworking to appease other people, maybe your boss, maybe your colleagues. You're afraid to disappoint or fall short. Start with recognizing what you need. I need to reduce the things to which I'm committed. It's not about going to other people. It's first about identifying in yourself, this is what I'm doing. I need to figure out a better way to communicate. Initially, the boundary isn't about going to the other people. It's first becoming clear inside yourself. I'm taking on too much. I'm the problem in this case. And so you might practice some of the following scripts. simply saying, that doesn't work for me right now. Here's what's already on my plate. I can't take that on, but I'd be glad to help you find someone else. Or just a simple statement of, I'm no longer going to answer work emails after 6 p.m. Maybe it's your marriage where you feel like you've lost your voice. Again, instead of trying to change the other person, start with what you need to change in yourself. For example, you might say something like, I've decided to start counseling, even if you're not ready to join me, right? You're taking initiative to do the thing that you know you need to do. Instead of trying to get your spouse to do something that they've shown no interest in, maybe you start scheduling something each week that's life-giving for you and simply tell them, I've decided to start doing something each week that's replenishing for me. Another helpful script when you're learning how to find your voice in an intimate relationship is to simply name what's happening. I'm still figuring out what I want. I need some time and space to think, right? Just asking for the spaciousness you need to sort through your own voice. Maybe it's a friendship where you need to name a pattern that you're going to change. I realize I've been saying yes when I actually need more rest. I'm going to start being more honest about that. Or I so appreciate how much you care, but I really need to make this decision without outside input. I'm really trying to listen to myself. Or I'm going to have to skip this event. I just don't have the capacity right now. These are just tiny steps of introducing more of your voice into these relationships. Remember, setting a boundary in an enmeshed relationship is not an act of rejecting the other person. It's an act of returning to your own self so that you can reinvest in a healthier way. In these cases, the other person may feel disappointed or confused initially, but when you're clear about what you need and your respect for the other person, you're starting to introduce healthy change. Let's talk about toxicity. In these situations, it can be more challenging to set a healthy boundary, and you need to be aware of the other person's toxic patterns. When the relationship involves manipulation, control, guilt tripping, or repeated harm, boundaries are about clarity, protection, and often creating distance. For example, if you've got a friend who is constantly critical or negative, you might need to name to them, I want to stay in this relationship, but I cannot take in all this negativity. I'm really working on my own mental health. And for me, I've got to stay in a more hopeful mindset. You might try playfulness. Sometimes that's a great way to introduce change in a relationship. You might say, listen, I hear you. I know things are hard. Now let's each name one good thing that happened to us this week. Sometimes the other person will respond favorably to these bids for a different way of doing things. Sometimes they won't. In those cases, you might simply need to name what's true. I want to stay in this relationship, but not under these conditions. Or I need to take a break from these conversations. If someone responds with a guilt trip, they try to make you feel bad for what you're saying. You can say, I hear that you're disappointed. I get that. And I also need to make this decision. Or, I love you. I care about you. I don't want you to be disappointed. And I still need to do this differently, right? You can validate their emotion while simultaneously staying firm in what you need to do. And then lastly, if they really won't let you off the hook, you might need to say, I'm just not comfortable continuing in this conversation. I'm going to excuse myself and simply close the conversation. Finally, when you're dealing with chronic imbalance, when you feel like you're the one who's become the dumping bag, the listening ear all the time, boundaries in these cases are about naming your own limits, but also learning to ask for shared responsibility. For example, if you're struggling because your spouse maybe isn't helping you out around the house with household tasks or even emotional labor, you can say, listen, I love how much you do for our family and I need more help around the house. Or can we talk about how we're dividing up household management? Or I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'd love to make a plan together. In friendships, sometimes friends just unwittingly have been leaning on you and maybe don't even realize it. And there are ways you can begin to introduce more of your needs into the relationship. You might say, man, I want to be there for you, but I'm really emotionally tapped out today. Can we check in tomorrow? Or you might even say, I'd love to support you, but I'm also struggling myself today. I wonder if we could take turns listening to each other. And sometimes you just need to be direct. I'm realizing that I've been doing most of the initiating. I wanted to see what that's about. Is there any way that we could create a more mutually honoring rhythm in our friendship? Boundaries in relationships aren't about changing the other person. They're about protecting the part of you that's learning to stand in truth. Remember, when we stop overfunctioning, we give others a chance to step into their responsibility. We're restoring the natural harmony. To continue to take on more than our fair share is actually not good for anyone. You never know how your honesty might help unlock something good inside of someone else. You may not see that in the moment. They might not like it, but at least you'll know you're doing your part. And you'll find tons of scripts and tips in both my books, The Best of You and I Shouldn't Feel This Way, if you want more practical suggestions. But for now, please hear me say that someone else's disappointment or guilt does not mean you've done something wrong. Sometimes the guilt you feel isn't about the boundary you set. It's about the role you played before you set it. And so staying firm to this new boundary is a great opportunity to work through the discomfort that you feel apart from this other person or this role you've taken on. You can always honor what they're feeling. You can say, I wish I'd done it differently, or I hate that you're disappointed, and still move forward in strength. You can acknowledge the mess without stepping back into the same dysfunction. So here's our main takeaways today. Boundaries are a part of God's design for harmony. They're not a punishment. They're not a rejection. They're a return to what's healthy, what's real, what's good, a return to healthy rhythms, a return to your God-given worth. Boundaries don't have to end relationships. They redefine them. And that work, while hard, is holy. It's good. It's part of what we're made for. Boundaries are how we make space for love to grow without losing ourselves in the process. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of The Best of You. It would mean so much if you take a moment to subscribe. You can go to Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to podcasts and click the plus or follow button. That will ensure you don't miss an episode, and it helps get the word out to others. While you're there, I'd love it if you leave your 5-star review. I look forward to seeing you back here next Thursday. And remember, as you become the best of who you are, you honor God, you heal others, and you stay true to your God-given self.
Are you hungry for guidance about mindset, relationships, health, finances, career decisions, and dealing with your past? I'm Trey Tucker, licensed therapist and speaker and host of Rugged, a podcast where I help young men and women navigate life's challenges and find solutions to help them live lives of service and meaning. In this podcast, you'll learn mindset strategies to harness your thoughts and emotions in ways that help you achieve your goals. I bring a blend of straight talk and empathy, and I'm open to addressing any topic and treating it and the people connected to it with respect and curiosity. Come join us. We have a space for you. Search for Rugged with Trey Tucker wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure to hit the follow button so new weekly episodes will be delivered straight to your personal podcast feed. My hope is that this podcast will leave you feeling encouraged and empowered to take charge of your life and close the gap between who you are and who you want to be.
Hi, dear one. I'm Dr. Edie Wadsworth, your new favorite Christian life coach, and I want to invite you to the House of Joy podcast. If you're a woman over 40 or the daughter of one who wants to build a positive mindset, healthier habits, and thriving relationships, this is the show for you. We talk about personal growth, faith, resilience, and creating a life you're obsessed with. So if you're tired of feeling stuck and ready to step into more joy and purpose, come join us. Listen now wherever you get your podcast.